infrastructure and caught at the center of it all, Californians suffering from deadly wildfires and power outages. Well, new legislation is proposing financial penalty for PG&E if changes aren't made. And the congressman behind this bill, behind this legislation, joining us in studio today, Representative Josh Harder, a Democrat for District 10. Thank you for being here.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, let's hit the ground running. We've got a lot to talk about. So your act is called No Bonuses During Blackouts. Yeah. And essentially it gives PG&E a choice. Can you elaborate on that choice?
Look, we're horrified by the blackouts and fires that are happening all across California. PG&E has said this will be the new normal for the next 10 years. That's unacceptable. What my bill does is it says if you are in a period where you have to not deliver service to millions of your customers, you shouldn't be paying your executives massive bonuses. Last year alone, PG&E pat itself on the back, paid themselves $25 million in bonuses that should have been going to preventing the blackouts and fires we're seeing today.
Well, and this is fascinating. So to your point, earlier this year, PG&E proposed $16 million bonus plans for its executives, which, that was interrupted by a judge. But I know you were vocal about outrage on that front.
Look, I worked in business, and I would never have been in a situation where 1 million of my customers were at risk of losing service, and instead of actually trying to fix that problem, I was patting myself on the back and giving my executives $1 million bonuses. Would have never happened.
Let's go an interesting route here. So this morning, PG&E has reported substantial third quarter losses. They've estimated the cost at more than $6 billion in wildfire damages alone. That does not include the Kincaid fire, by the way. And at this point, there's been a lot of talk about possibly taking the company public. How they would do that, what they would look like. I want to know what you think about that.
All options are on the table. The status quo is clearly not working. We have had PG&E systematically put their own short-term profits ahead of the long-term investments that they should have been making. What we need to do is we need to shift that mentality. We need to pressure them towards making the investments they should have been making over the last few decades. There's a variety of ways to get there. Public ownership, being owned by as a cooperative by your consumers. We're looking at all of it, but it has to change.
So you've proposed this legislation, and PG&E responded to you. So they said that the climate change and devastating wildfires prompted the utility to take steps in order to reduce wildfire. They've said that they've, done 700,000 electric system poles, towers, and substations. They've inspected them. They've installed 600 weather stations and HD cameras. Does this satisfy you? Is this enough?
Absolutely not. But saying that it's all about the weather ignores the fact that there's parts of California, there's parts across the rest of our country that have the same weather challenges but don't have the blackouts and fires that we do. This is because PG&E has not made the investments they had to make. If they took that $25 million that they paid their executives, put that towards preventing these fires, we wouldn't be having as many of them today.
Quickly before we go, there's never enough time, but I wanted to touch on this. How are you working to make sure that this doesn't negatively impact PG&E workers? They're out there on the front lines. We've seen instances where they've been harassed. And so you're targeting executives, but how do you make sure it doesn't affect, down the ladder?
This is only focused around the 8 executives that paid themselves $25 million a year. There are so many good people at the ground level that are working really hard. This isn't about them. This is about a couple folks looting the company, patting themselves on the back when their consumers and customers are not able to use electricity.
All right, Congressman, thank you so much
Thanks
for being
having
here
me,
today. I
Simone.
appreciate it. All right, we'll send it over to you, Adam, in the Weather Center.